Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. I am excited. Welcome to Tara's Voice, Interesting People, Irrelevant Conversations. I've got my fabulous friend, Allie Adkins here. I am excited to hang out with her because she is doing mom life, like in the fire, like we all are. And I've actually known Allie for a number of years. We met originally we were both in the same direct sales business, my very first business. And so both had very high leadership positions in that company. She's been very inspiring to me. This girl knows business. She knows leadership. She knows people. Now she's off doing lots of cool things in the wellness industry. So we're going to have a fun conversation. I don't remember. This is horrible. I'm saying, oh, this is my good friend. What state are you in? We were just talking about Michigan.
And
And
we're close. I'm in Maryland.
in
So
Maryland.
yes, we're both East Coast
Okay.
girls.
We were just talking about that you had driven to Michigan. We were talking about the longest drives we've ever taken. And yours was Maryland to Michigan.
Yes, 13 hours nonstop with two kids by myself.
Oh my gosh. Mine, and I was telling Allie, mine was New Jersey to Columbus, Ohio. For the Columbus Children's Hospital, they were doing a cancer conference there. And my sister-in-law came with us. And actually, it was like we were going to split the driving. And I don't know. I literally drove the entire way. It was like I had taken cocaine or something and was just awake. Like that was the only thing I could do. It was like this weird, she was like, do you want me to take over the driving? I was like, no, I'm actually like really okay. But when we got there, as soon as we got there, I like crashed.
Yes.
I was totally out. Okay, so let's see what our wheel of questions is going to bring up for us today. Let me go ahead and find that. And so, guys, if you have a fun question that you think would be a great irrelevant question, something that has, would spark a great conversation, go ahead and send those over, drop them in the comments or send those over to me. And we would love to hear them. You can send them via email or contact. Go to my website, taragonline.com. There's a contact form. Send those in. All right, let's see what our wheel is going to bring up. I don't think I put any sound on it. So we'll just kind of spin it and we'll see what our question is. And some of these questions.
So nervous.
It should be fun. It's like a game show, like, hey, what will I win? And let's see. Some of them were submitted by people. Okay, so this one doesn't have a name, but it says, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? If you could live anywhere in the world.
That is perfect. I love that because I have traveled a lot of the world, Tara. So
You have?
Yeah. So little backstory. My parents were actually missionaries in South America. So I grew up in Bolivia and Paraguay, traveled Central America, and then in college I did study abroad in Spain for a semester and got to travel all of Europe. Took 2 weeks on the Eurorail and traveled. So yeah, I would definitely say I would live in Spain or anywhere on the Mediterranean. It was the best semester of my life. It was just so beautiful. There's so much history, and just the food is amazing. The environment's amazing. The weather is amazing. So yeah, definitely I would live in Spain. I did love Italy. I didn't make it to the Italian coast, but that looked gorgeous as well. I definitely wouldn't complain staying there either. So yeah, definitely on the Mediterranean in Europe for sure.
Okay, I feel like I have so many questions because I am the absolute opposite. I have traveled. So this is horrific. I don't even have a current passport. I have not traveled much at all. I did I did a high school trip. So this is funny. My best friend's mom, she was an English teacher. And she was teaching all of these kids. So this is growing up in high school, my best friend growing up. And she was teaching all these kids who would come back after they had been away on spring break and they had been away on fall break and they were traveling the world. And one day she was like, this is ridiculous. Like all these kids are getting to see the world and I have not been anywhere. So she literally quit her teaching job and started to go work for Pan Am. Do you remember that old?
Yes, yeah.
This will date me, okay?
I've flown Pan Am.
Yeah, so this will date us. She worked for Pan Am and then that became Continental. And so her whole purpose of working legit was just for the travel because back then it was a very different, you had
like dining plates and like metal silverware with your meals. You got served like full entree meals on these long flights. Yeah, for sure.
And you got a blanket and a pillow and you had to get dressed up to travel. And, but in the airline, you would get seniority. So the longer you were there, the better flight benefits you would get. So she flew, my best friend grew up flying like all over the world. Her mom was very big in like exposing them. So here I am, I'm 16 years old. I've never left the country. And she was like horrified. Like I was like a hobbit, like who is this person living in like what is going on? So for my 16th birthday, she took me to London. And I remember my mom taking me to get me all dressed up. So this is how sad like my life is. I have not traveled anywhere. And it's like this might be an American thing and I might get a lot of hate for this, but it actually scares me to travel outside of the US because as somebody who's never done that, and you see all this crazy social media and like
Right.
all of that. So I'm curious, number one, like what was it like growing up? And how has that impacted how you view the US? Because I have no other lens to look through. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So I was so young when we went. Like my parents went to language school in Texas when I was like in first, second grade. And then we went to Bolivia when I was in fourth grade. I was like 9 years old and then was back and forth until I graduated high school. So literally I went to college and I think we were trying to I was going to go to Italy for a J term semester or something like that and an art to fill an art credit. And they're like, oh, well, you got to get your passports. And I'm like, I have a passport. And it wasn't until I got to college that I realized that like I just thought everybody had a passport because I had had one since I was so young.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I didn't really know different till I got to college because that's just the environment I was raised in as a child. And so, during my high school years, I was like, oh, why do I gotta live in South America? This is awful. But looking back, I'm like, our senior trip, we went to the beaches in Brazil. Like, who gets to do that? Like, it was just, we went to Iguazu Falls in the Brazil-Argentina border, which is like the biggest waterfall, like has the most volume of water going over it in the whole world. I saw that. And then later went to Niagara and I was like, what is this? Like, why are people impressed with this? So I did a lot of things in reverse like that. So, but yeah, it does make you appreciate, different cultures but at the same time, appreciate our country, right? And our freedoms that we have here that aren't given to everybody around the world. So I think it's an appreciation from both sides. So an appreciation for different countries all around the world and different cultures and what they value and respect. And just also, and on the same token, an appreciation for our country and the freedoms that we have that aren't necessarily provided to everybody around the world.
So, because you were a missionary kid, how did that work for school? Were you homeschooled or did you go to a Christian school?
So
that was
I
more
always say
Christian?
I graduated like top 8 of my class because there was only 15 of us. So yeah, so I went to small Christian schools. They were accredited through the US, but they were very small, like missionary schools. So my graduating class was 15. I was the only American girl in there till my senior year in high school. Like another girl, her dad worked at the embassy. She came and then I was like, oh my gosh, another American girl. Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, I graduated with a US accredited high school diploma and got
Now,
into
was that hard to go to college with having had such this kind of very small school experience?
Well, so then I did choose a small Christian college to go to,
Oh,
which
yeah.
still was like, oh my gosh, this is like a huge campus to me, compared to, what I was growing up with. But
Wow. So,
yeah.
what are some of the things that you think like Americans could learn about other countries that are really good? Because, well, and right now we have this really strange political climate, right? Where we've got like half the country that's like America's like this horrible, terrible place. And we have like, the country's burning to the ground. And then you have this other group that's like, America's great and freedom, let freedom ring, right? And so,
Right.
and as somebody like me who really, I have friends who've moved to other countries and live in other countries. And I've kind of heard, I guess, more from maybe the medical, because I have a lot of like cancer moms that I know from around the
Right.
world and with
Right.
universal health care and what I've seen, on the other side of the healthcare industry, here in the US, that has changed my opinions a lot going through the health. Like I
Mhm.
was very strong, US healthcare. And then I went through the system with a cancer kid and I'm like, oh, maybe
Right.
not. Right. So what do you think are some of the things that like would be good that other countries have that we should have here?
I think the biggest thing with Latin America, and so it was Spain, so it was still, that kind of culture, just definitely like slowing down, right? I just feel like in America, it is just go, 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 go nonstop, especially for women, working moms. Like, it's just so much. Like, I just read something the other day that was like, the working mom, life isn't set up for a working mom, right? Like you have to have the work starts at 8, your kids have to be to school by 7, school's done at 2:33, you have to work till 5, like, and then everything on top of it, right? The sports and extracurriculars and all of that. But yeah, just to slow down. It's a slower pace of life. I feel like they enjoy the small, things. They take siestas every day. Like I can get down with a siesta. Like the whole city like shuts down. If you want to go grab something from 12 to 2 or 12 to 3, like it's not happening. Those stores are closed.
What is everybody doing?
Taking a nap, a siesta, taking a nap. They go home and they eat a big lunch. Their big meal is at lunchtime, and then they take a siesta. So it's also the hottest. It's the hottest part of the day too, right? So close to the equator, it's like 100 degrees from 12 to 3. So you don't want to be doing anything anyways, but relaxing and cooling off.
And then they go back to work.
Then they go back to work. Yep.
And when did they come home?
I don't know when they came home because my parents were, missionaries, so they weren't working like a typical civilian job, right? But I mean, some families would eat dinner 8, 9 o'clock. When I studied in Spain, we ate dinner at 8, 9 o'clock.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I could get down with a nap every day. I'm down with that. Like now as I'm getting older, I'm like, yay, I love that. So do you think so? Have you ever read that book? It's called oh gosh, it's a book about like the happiest countries in the world.
Right.
Happy countries, whatever. And I think it was like Denmark or something was the happiest country. It's one of the Norwegian.
Right.
This tells how little, I know about the world. But do you think that people are more content there?
I think so. Yeah, I think they are. It's not so much, what she do. And this was in the 90s, right? So there wasn't social media. I don't know how much social media plays a platform in those countries now. I don't know if it's as big a deal there as it is here. But they were content. It was content. And the other thing was family. Family was a huge deal there. They were tight knit family groups, and you took care of your elders. Your parents and grandparents lived with you, and the parents and the grandparents would watch the kids then if the parents were working. So it wasn't all these separated divisions of families, right? You were just one big family unit. And that definitely is a value that it's very important to me. So
my sister-in-law says that because she's from the Philippines, and one of the things that she's like, we don't have nursing homes in the Philippines. Don't exist. The idea that you would send your parent to a nursing home. And she said, before she and my brother got married, that was one of the conversations. Is she said that's, at some point my mother will live with us because that's not part of my culture. Right. And so I was kind of like, well, that's great. You can get both moms. I don't have to worry about that. That's your culture. Enjoy. Right. But she was like very horrified that you would, elders to a nursing home. So do you think that the way you've raised your daughters or the way you do life now is still impacted by those experiences? Or do you feel like because they were so far removed that now you've just kind of like reverted back to the American hustle bustle?
I mean, we are very hustle bustle. I won't lie. Like we live very busy lives, but family is still very important to me. Slowing down is still very important to me. We do Sundays, try and take a day of rest, go to church. I highly love and value my Sunday afternoon nap after church. And then my husband's parents live an hour from us, and we drive an hour one way to go eat family dinner with them every Sunday because my parents are in Michigan, so it is very important to me, family still. And just, when we can take a slower pace, we try to do that, right? Especially with the girls, like it's go, 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 for them with school and any extracurricular activities, sports and everything. So if we have some downtime, we do try to relax and just enjoy.
Okay, wait. So you're telling me every Sunday after church, you guys take a nap?
I take a nap. My youngest used to, and she's going to be 11. And still sometimes I'll be like, hey, aren't you tired? Come, and she'll come
take it out with me.
I know, she'll come snuggle me in my bed. But yeah, I mean,
I heard this woman, I don't remember where I heard this. This is years ago, but she said that growing up, every Sunday her family went to church, and then they came home and the whole family took a nap. And she's like, I grew up and I realized that was because my parents were getting it on Sunday afternoon. And that was like their one time that she's like, literally, and they all sent us to bed. And she's like, and I grew up thinking like, oh, everybody family does that. And she's like, and now as an adult, the truth has come out.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was their parents. So then I'm like, you guys are taking a nap Sunday afternoon, huh, Allie? I see.
Alex is in my bed with me. My husband is down on the couch. He's a couch. My husband is a couch napper. I cannot nap on the couch. I cannot get comfortable on the couch.
Okay.
He's a couch napper. I'm like, get me in my comfy bed with all my pillows and my
Yeah.
comforter. And yeah.
I think you need to upgrade those Sunday naps and be like, hey, everyone's taking a nap. Because I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because like, particularly you're juggling kids at the end of the day, like everybody's tired. So I guess Sunday afternoon, our parents were like, we aren't tired. We take advantage of this. That's so funny. So did you ever think of like living someplace like after you graduated college? Did you ever think of like moving back to Spain or going to live someplace like that and not staying here?
I not really. I mean, I did love Spain, and I did graduate with my degree in elementary education. So, when I was looking for a teaching job, there was some like in the South Pacific that I was like, ooh, I could live on an island in the South Pacific and teach, you know. But it's crazy. Actually, I think one of the islands that I was there was a school on, I think a few years later, it like got hit by a tsunami, and I was like, thank you for your protection, Lord, for not sending me to that school. But I mean, I just looked at it. Wasn't like I seriously had applied or anything, but yeah, that's probably the extent of living. I feel like I got my fix, I guess, growing up. But I do love to still travel. Like, we haven't traveled in a while because we have raised two small kids to now teenage girls. But I do love to travel. My husband and I, after we got married and before kids, my parents were still missionaries and they moved to Chile. So we did go travel there and see them in Chile, which was gorgeous. So like I said, I was in Bolivia and Paraguay, which are the only two landlocked countries in all South America. Everywhere else has a coastline. Okay. So I graduate and then they moved to Chile. I'm like, Thanks, Mom and Dad. Like, you can literally drive in one day from the Pacific Ocean, gorgeous Pacific Ocean, to the Andes Mountains with like snow. Like, so it's a beautiful country. So
we have friends. My daughter had a friend in high school. Her mom and dad were from there. And apparently they have amazing, amazing wine.
Yes, they do have amazing wine and seafood. Like the seafood empanadas are like so good.
See, and I'm a foodie, so I would be down for the travel just to try the different kinds of
food.
And
there's no mosquitoes in Chile. It's the most bizarre thing. I think there's no mosquitoes, and I don't think there's snakes. It was awesome. Yeah.
Well, that's the one thing you think of, like warmer climates, and then you just think of big, big, big bugs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. One of my friends moved to Australia, which it sounds really cool. Like she'll like take pictures of, actually, she was my first guest on here. She's a very good friend, Mary Michelle. She'll take pictures of like kangaroos in her backyard. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is wild. But then also like the size of some of these bugs that she has found in her house that are like bigger than my hand. And I'm like, oh my God, that would set me, I'd have to move. Or like if a snake got in my house, I would be done for.
Don't they have like the deadliest bugs? It's either Australia or New Zealand, like has like the most deadliest creatures.
But like, how do you kill a bug that's bigger than your shoe?
You can't. Like there was a tarantula came up on our porch this big on a lower porch, and me and my brothers are like dropping a brick on it from a porch, and the brick is like breaking on its back. Like it's not dying. It's not.
Oh my God, what did you do?
I don't know what happened to it. I went inside. My brothers, I don't know what they ended up doing with it.
Oh my God, I'll be dead. So this is a few years ago, probably about 10 years ago now. I had a friend visiting from Colorado. I had just moved back. So I had moved back to New Jersey. She would come in and she would visit. And we were staying in an apartment in Brooklyn. Now this apartment, and this is 10 years ago. So this apartment was $1 million apartment 10 years ago in Brooklyn. So we're talking beautiful, overlooking, like a park area, just very swanky, right? So we're there for the weekend. I kid you not, we're sitting in the living room. And all of a sudden, I can't even talk about it. This cockroach starts walking down the wall. And I'm like, of course, now I'm screaming. And she's like, we have to kill it. And the thing was so big that I was like, you cannot crush this with a shoe. So it's like a New York size cockroach, right? So I'm like, I just kind of hope it goes back in the wall and I can pretend I didn't see it, right? Like, I'm just hoping, like, let it just go back to wherever it crawled from. And I'm just going to pretend I didn't see it. And obviously that wasn't happening. So what we finally did, because we couldn't kill it with a shoe because it was like so big, is we got a vacuum. And I was like, let's vacuum it up. And so she vacuumed it up. Of course, then I was like, I don't know who's going to empty that vacuum, because my understanding is like they will live in there forever. They need no food, no water, no light. Like they
Yeah,
live through like a
probably
nuclear
make babies
blast.
with nothing in there.
Yeah, right. Like I was like, that seems like somebody else's problem, not mine when we leave. And the next day we like called and they were like, oh yeah, we come and we spray if you see cockroaches. But I remember thinking to myself, if literally I'm in $1 million apartment and there is a cockroach coming down the hall, there is no place safe in New
Mm-mm.
York that I will ever live. And that was a cockroach. So I can't even imagine being in like Australia or like what you're talking about, like in these places, because
Right.
if I saw it, oh my God, it just, now I'm getting chills. If I saw a tarantula the size of like a like my hand walking into my room right now, I mean, I would leave. I would leave and never come back. I'd be like, there's nothing in my house. I need that bad. Like, oh my
Right.
gosh, I'd pick up the dog and run. Like that would be it.
Right.
Holy smokes. Okay. So then now that I'm completely freaked out about bugs, like, because this is my other thing. I'd be afraid to go to sleep. I'd be like, one of these are gonna like walk across me while I'm sleeping.
Mm.
Because isn't it like they say you eat 8 spiders in your lifetime or something
Yeah.
horrific?
Yeah. It's pretty bad. It's pretty horrific. And
Or have you ever seen like those things where people get bugs? I can't even talk about it. It
oh,
sounds like a very
there's so many
queasy stomach.
disgusting things. There's so
They
many
get bugs
disgusting
in their ears and
yes.
they have to go in and get the bugs out. I'm like, oh my gosh. And
They had these moths that would like lay eggs, and they were like worms that would like burrow into like your head and it was so disgusting. So disgusting.
oh my God. Ugh, I had it. So we had one of our family members. What was it? It was, we were all there for a holiday, and like 2 days later, found out the little kids, like elementary, my nephews had lice,
Oh my
and I was
gosh.
like, "Oh my
You just
God, I will
you just
die."
itch thinking about I itch thinking
Yes,
about it. Yeah.
yes. I was like, "Oh, so gross." Um, so what do you think? So when the other thing I heard you say is that you feel like the United States, we have freedoms that we, don't take advantage of. And I will say this has been on a personal level for me a little bit hard. I try not to get too political on anything, but particularly when women talking about their rights being in jeopardy. And when I'm looking at what's happening in Afghanistan with like the Taliban women,
Right.
I do not understand how this is not a global human right violation. I mean, these women are getting now where I heard they can't put windows in the houses so that men can't see them from the streets, and
Mm.
they're not allowed to talk where a neighbor could hear them through the wall. And I have to say, I'm like, why are they so terrified of women? Because they are keeping them away from being able to congregate, talk to each other. I mean, you see some of these
Right.
videos, and this is, and again, I don't know like all the history, but going back, that these are women who at one point like had jobs and were working. Like it wasn't
Right.
like this has been the history for hundreds of years.
Right.
Like, can you imagine if you and I just have our regular lives now, and like 20 years from now, we're living like where we can't leave our house?
Right.
I can't even. It's just so. So when I talk about like women losing their rights, or like Russia is now, I don't know the word, I don't know if decriminalizing is the right word, but they're basically saying domestic violence is an internal family affair now. So if
Mm.
you have domestic violence going on and you like go to the authorities and stuff, they're really not going to intervene very much, because they look at this as like this is a family issue to take advantage,
Right.
take so you don't have like the recourses. And even here, I was talking to somebody, I don't know who was on the podcast, because I looked up the date. Marital rape was legal in the United States until like less than like 50 years ago or something. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, I think in the 70s or in the 80s, like it was finally outlawed. I'm like, people don't realize like that's not that long ago,
No.
right? So when you talk about like we have more freedoms, what do you see as that versus what other people don't have? Like, because of course, I'm thinking the extreme, and there might be like smaller things.
Right. No, I mean, in Latin America, it was not like anything like the Middle East, like what you're saying, right? They still had freedom of speech. Like we could still have our churches and not be like intimidated at that time in Bolivia and Paraguay. Now I know in Colombia in the 80s and 90s it was really bad. They were crazy, guerrilla warfare kind of stuff going on, and going in and getting missionaries, families, but we were in a safe-ish. I mean, it was never anything like that, like what you're explaining. Now, when I was in Paraguay, they had it was a democracy. It had been under a dictatorship for so long, and either my junior or senior year, somebody from the military tried to come in and overthrow the democracy and like be a dictator again, and like there were like army tanks rolling down the road in front of our sporting events. And I was like, so I did, and I don't know how long that went on for. I mean, it might've been a couple weeks but all the youth came in and they were like, no, like, we lived under a dictatorship. We're finally a democracy. Like, we want it to be a democracy still. And so it went back to that. But so that was something that I went through in high school. But yeah, nothing like that. I did go to Kosovo on a mission trip in college. And that was it was a Muslim country. So they, they had to worship more privately than in, Latin America, I should say. So yeah, those were probably my only experiences with stuff like that.
That's so interesting. I had friends, again, years ago when I was living in Colorado, and their family became missionaries for the deaf. They signed, but they went into, like, I guess, and I don't know where it was, they wouldn't tell us, but it was a closed country. So all of their communication was like this very cryptic emailing kind of stuff, because they couldn't reveal like where they were or anything like that.
Right.
And that was just wild to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we got there I mean, that was early 90s. Yeah, there was no email or internet. Like, we would write letters back and forth to my cousins in the States. It'd take like 4 to 6 weeks to get there, 4 to 6 weeks for them to come back to us. So yeah, finally when the internet came, we were like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think travel is interesting. I think that my sister-in-law is very big on a lot of international travel. I mean, my nephews have been all over the world.
Right.
And it's very important for her to expose them, which I think is very valuable, because
right.
Like, I believe that people are more alike than different, right? Regardless of where you come from, what country you are. Like, as a Christian, I believe God made everybody, that kind of thing. But I think that when we are so closed into just our view and the way we do things, it's not like, I don't think it's beneficial for anybody, because you start to think like, well, my way is the right way.
Right.
But you don't really know what anybody else is doing.
Right.
I think that was kind of actually one of the reasons, we've never talked about this, one of the reasons I became a Christian, because I was raised Catholic, and I was raised with all these people who were like, the Bible is the truth and being Catholic is the right way. But then as I got older, I was like, yeah, but there's all these other people who believe all these other things, and they also think that they're all right. And as I would talk to people, particularly, I met a friend who was Baptist, and she was raised in real deep South Baptist culture, in
Southern
the
Baptist,
Bible Belt. And she was just like, well, we don't like Catholics. And I remember I was like, I don't know, 21 years old. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you're not a Christian, you're a Catholic, and we don't like Catholics, and Baptists never like Catholics. And this was like mind blowing to me. I was like, wait, what? And I was like, well, but what I realized within talking to her is she absolutely did not know anything that Catholics believed. She just knew that they were wrong, she was right, and that they didn't like them. And what it made me, but it was so pivotal, because it made me realize was that was kind of true for all these religions. Like, when I would ask people, like, I had a good friend who was Muslim, and I would ask her about her religion, but she didn't know what other people believed. She just knew that hers was the right one. And then I had a friend who was like a Mormon, and the same kind of thing. And I was like, okay, so all these people, they have the truth, but they actually don't really know what anybody else believes. And so I stopped practicing Catholicism, and I went on this like 5-year quest. I was like studying like all these different religions, because I was like, how do you know if yours is the right one, right? If you don't even know what anybody else believes, right?
Yeah.
I read the parts of the Torah. I read the Quran. At one point, I thought I was going to be a Quaker. Then I thought I was going to be a Christian Scientist.
I love it.
I studied witnesses for a couple of years, kind of got into these, a little bit of Hinduism. I wasn't really into like the multi-God, I think, coming from being raised with a single God, but I was really like, okay, what's going on here? Right. So that's how it kind of reminds me when we're talking about with these cultures, like, we only know where we're from, and we're so convinced that we're right and that the way we do things is right, but we literally have no concept of what other people do.
Yeah.
And I think that's changing a little bit with social media.
And you get a snippet, right? You get a snippet of what it is on social media, but really, you have to go. Yeah. So Tara, go book a trip.
I know.
Go book a trip. And yeah, I mean, I can't say anything because we really haven't taken our children outside of the United States either. But we are going, my mother-in-law is from Sicily. And so we are going to Sicily in 2 years with the entire family, and the girls get to go. So yeah, I do need to get passports for them and probably check if ours need to get renewed. But yeah.
Actually, this is crazy. So I went to get a passport during COVID, and because everything was kind of shut down, I used a picture. So this is funny. So years ago, my girlfriends and I went to Canada, and they all have passports. They're all very well traveled. And I'm like the black sheep who has no passport. And they're like, how do you not have a passport? So I go to get the passport, and as I'm filling out all the paperwork, and it's like $300, right? And the guy is like, well, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to Canada. He goes, well, then you don't need a passport. You just need a passport license. And that's like $25. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, you don't need you can just drive, you're driving in, you're not flying in. So
right.
So I got a passport license for like 25, $30 because I was like, okay, here I am. Why do I need to spend $300 on this? So I had the picture from the passport license because, I have a picture done. So during COVID, I'm like, okay, I need to get a real passport. I think also I was like, who knows what's going on with the country and COVID? It was getting crazy. And I was like, in case we have to escape. Right. So I have to get a passport. So I sent the picture in that was from the passport license. I sent in my money. They send me a thing back, and they're like, this picture's over 6 months old because it's from your passport license. We won't accept the photo, and you need to send another one in. But it was during COVID, so I couldn't go get another one. Everything was closed. But here's the crazy part. They just keep your $300. So I never got a refund. I paid $300, and I have no passport still.
You still don't have a passport?
And and now it's like past the thing. So it's just like a gift. It was just a gift to the passport agency.
$300 donation. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a donation. Yes, it was a donation to the passport agency. So I still have to go get one done. But I was watching a video on, I don't know, TikTok or something, and it was a European, and he was talking about that the rest of the world is like, oh, Americans, they're so untraveled and uncultured. He's like, but really America is people don't in Europe, I guess, don't realize how big America is, that like it's, yes, there are 50 states. He's like, but if you almost think about it as 50 countries,
right.
That then Americans are really well traveled.
Right.
You've been to like all these.
But I haven't even seen the whole United States. Like I say, like I've probably been to more countries than I have states. Like I think
that's wild.
27, 28 countries I've traveled to. And, I have flown over the Grand Canyon. I haven't seen the Grand Canyon. My brother lives in California, so I've been to California. I've been to Colorado, but I haven't been everywhere in between, like the Dakotas and all that. Like I haven't seen all that, and
well, maybe that's it. Maybe you just take your girls and go on a travel around.
Right.
Well, and it is, I guess, yes, it's different. Like I remember my mom talking about, she grew up in Brooklyn, and then when she was in her early 20s, she went to visit my dad he was in like boot camp or something in Texas, and she had never had a taco, and how that was like such a big deal that they had tacos in Texas. And I do remember I was like probably 7, and we went from New Jersey to go visit my uncle in Texas. They live in Amarillo on the Panhandle. They wanted my mom to make like, I don't know, lasagna or ziti or some Italian dish, right? Yeah. And I remember being in the grocery store at 7, and like my mom couldn't find the ingredients. Like we couldn't find like fresh mozzarella. We couldn't find like regular like stuff so I do think now like that's not like you can get a taco anywhere, right? Like you can find
you can get fresh mozzarella anywhere. Yeah.
Right. Like, those kinds of things. Like I remember growing up, we didn't really eat avocados. Like avocado wasn't food you would find at the grocery store, where now that's, standard. So we have become a smaller world. But I will say when I moved from New Jersey to Colorado, it was culture shock for me. I had a horrible time in my business. It was so hard for me to do business in Colorado. I had a friend actually have to literally retrain me because, so Allie and I both came from a direct sales business where we would have people join your team. And I remember I would say to people in New Jersey, like, well, what would you want to change about your life? Because the whole idea in sales is really, can you find a need and fill it, right? So you say, what do you want to change about your life? And in Jersey, of course, women, they're going to give you a list. These are all the ways that they're dissatisfied, what they would change, what they want to do. I get to Colorado and these women look at me and they're like,
I love my life.
I don't know. I'm pretty content.
Yeah.
I was like, first of all, I've never heard somebody say this before, and I'm not sure what to do with this information. Where did I learn it? And they were just content. I was like, the other thing that was interesting is in New Jersey, Never once did I have a woman say, well, this sounds like a really good idea. I think I want to do it. Let me talk to my husband. She would just decide. And in Colorado, the first woman said to me, well, sounds really good. I have to go home and ask my husband. And I started laughing because I thought she was kidding. And I offended her, of course.
Right.
And I will say, in the 10 years I lived there, I never had anybody who had a significant other, boyfriend, husband, any kind of significant other, that wasn't like, I need to talk to or ask my partner first. And I
Right.
just thought that was the strangest thing. Because I feel
Right.
like in New Jersey, if I said to you, Allie, do you need to ask your husband? You'd probably punch me. Like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What do you mean, ask my husband? Why can't I make a decision? Right. It's so, even just those small cultural things
Right.
are really different.
Definitely, from state to state, especially in the US, which, yeah, it's interesting that you said that somebody thought like the US was a bunch of different countries within itself. I can totally see that because, yeah, I'm born in Michigan, but really raised in South America. Came back to the Midwest for college. Now I'm out here on the East Coast. So yeah, they're like, "Where are you from?" When I'm here in Maryland, like my accent, and then
Yeah.
when I go home, they're like, "You sound so Southern," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I don't fit in anywhere now." Like I'm just like from
I
all over.
used to have, when I first moved to Colorado, literally as soon as I opened my mouth, as soon as I was like, "Hi, my name is," the first thing people would say is, "Where are you from?"
Right,
I guess I had such a thick Jersey accent, and then living there for 10 years, it kind of, I don't hear, I'm sure there's certain words. My daughter will every now and then look at me and she'll be like, "What did you say?" Like, I still say dog, I still say coffee, I still have certain words.
right.
Um, where my daughter's like, "Mom, those are not real words."
Oh,
Um,
stop.
yeah, she's like, "Please don't say that word." But in general, I don't feel like I have that very thick accent. Although I used to joke, I'm like, when I would be in Colorado, if I would get drunk or really angry, then the accent would
Okay.
come out. Like, yeah, a friend of mine has like a revenge video. I guess they could use it as revenge. This is years ago. We're at a party and I was drinking and I am talking, and I mean, I sound like Marissa Tomei out of My Cousin Vinny, right? And they were all like, "This is the best video we have ever had of her."
That's
Like,
yes.
the accent. Yeah. And then when Emily was in kindergarten, like your kids, they come home and they have to line up their vowels, and
Yeah.
they have words and they're like this word and
Mhm.
this word and this word and this
Right.
word. And then I remember, because I was so pissed, it was log and dog. And I was like, "No, Em, I don't think those two go together." I'm like, "It's log and dog. Those wouldn't be." And I literally, I was so, and there were a few that were like that. And I was like, "No, that's not how that word sounds." I'm like, "Log, dog. It's not a dog. Like, that's a weird sound."
That's
I
so
had to send in a note to her teacher. And I was like, "I am unable to help my 5-year-old with her kindergarten work because these sounds don't sound right to me." Like, I literally was like, "I can't help
funny.
you. I don't know what these words are supposed to be together." So, it's interesting. I was reading somewhere that they're saying that regional accents
Mhm.
are on the way out because of social media, because
Yeah.
kids now aren't being just, where it's like they're so secluded with their
Right. Right.
dialect accent, that they're exposed to all of this stuff with social media and TikTok and all of that, that it'll be interesting in like 10 or 20 years, will there be those distinct accents the way that
Right.
you and I have, right?
Right.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. All right. So we're going to finish up. I know you are on a wellness kick to help people with wellness.
Yes.
So I'm excited for you for that.
Thank you.
So guys, we will have in our show notes, you can grab, there will be a link there that Allie has a gift for you guys, that for our listeners. So make sure you go and check that out. We'll drop your social media in there too, so you
Awesome.
can
Thank you.
follow her and find her. And then if nothing else, I guess hopefully we've inspired you to go travel. Don't be like me. Go travel, go talk to other people, go experience different things. And I will say, I think that what's very cool, we live in a world now where, it is becoming more, where do you want to be? Where I think where our parents were really limited on where they could live, like you kind of grew
Right.
up, lived in the same area. And, now we have this idea you can go anywhere you want. And my only advice, now that I have a older kid, is that if you want to live someplace else, get there before they get to high school, because now my daughter's in college in New Jersey and I'm like, "Oh gosh, she's going to trap me here forever." Like, I need to get out. I should have moved to Bali when I had a chance, right? Like,
Right.
Like, get
Getting
out
hard for
because
us.
because I am the mom who's like, oh, I saw a TikTok video yesterday, Allie, and this mom, it's a video when her daughter bought the house across the street. And she was like, oh, this is the greatest day. My daughter bought a house across the street. And then I may or may not be like crying, being like, I want that to be me. I want my daughter to live across
Right.
the
I
street.
know. I know we've got two girls, and so I'm the same way. Like, and then here I am, Maryland on the East Coast. My mom and dad, retired missionaries at their farm in Michigan, and then both of my brothers live out in California. So every day to my girls, I'm like, you are not allowed to do to me what I have done to my poor
Oh
mom.
my God.
I know. So that's why we do drive that 13 hours a lot to go, a couple
And
times.
your parents wouldn't want to move either to California or Maryland?
So they inherited my grandma's centennial farm. So it's a family farm, and they have a bed and breakfast and
Oh, wow.
yeah, camping sites, RV sites, sheep, Highland cows. I can share their link in your
Oh,
comments too if you
yeah.
need
That's awesome.
a little getaway in Western Michigan. Yeah, it's most peaceful place in the world. So
Oh, I want to go. Let's
yeah,
take a trip. I'll meet you
yes,
there. That
yes.
sounds fun.
Awesome.
Oh, well, thank you so much for hanging out
Thank
with
you,
me.
Tara, for having me on. I
Always
appreciate
love to
it.
spend time with you. So, guys, check
Thank
out
you.
if you liked our episode, please subscribe, help a girl out, leave a review. That would be great. Unless you didn't like us, don't leave a review. But if you like us, leave a great review. That would definitely help. Share our episode. And then next week, we will have another interesting person and probably a completely irrelevant conversation. Bye,
I
everyone.
love it. Thank you.